So I want you to just close your eyes for a second and try to imagine this massive, like, multi-billion-dollar global industry.
Okay.
But the catch is, it's somehow completely frozen in time, like
Yeah.
stuck in the analog age.
Right, like before the internet really took over.
Exactly. So picture yourself walking into this huge echoing convention center. It's an annual hunting expo. You've got all these business owners, these outfitters, standing in physical booths.
Shaking hands, giving out
Yeah,
flyers.
handing out these glossy paper brochures, and they are relying almost entirely on, word of mouth to secure all their clients for the next 12 months.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It really is. And think about what happens when that expo actually ends. Like, for the remaining 360 days of the year, these businesses basically retreat to what are essentially digital ghost towns.
Oh man, yeah. The websites.
Right. They have these incredibly clunky standalone websites that look like they were built, a decade ago.
Or longer.
Yeah, totally. And they see maybe, I don't know, a dozen visitors a month. So they just sit there basically waiting and praying that a high-ticket client, someone who's ready to drop tens of thousands of dollars on a safari, somehow magically stumbles across their contact page.
And then fills out a broken web form.
Exactly. And waits like 3 days for an email reply.
It paints a really stark picture of inefficiency. I mean, especially when you contrast it with how you and I book literally everything else in our lives today.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're describing is just a classic hope and pray marketing model. And from an economic standpoint, relying on manual, localized lead generation in a totally globally connected world, well, it's incredibly fragile.
And that fragility is exactly what we are tearing into today.
Hmm.
We are exploring this massive, completely industry-shifting paradigm that is actively dismantling that old expo and brochure model.
It's a huge shift.
It is. So we're going to map out the rise of this unified global infrastructure layer for the hunting world, specifically focusing on a platform called HuntNetwork. And we've got a whole stack of internal strategy documents, platform architecture notes, and rollout blueprints sitting right in front of us.
Some really fascinating source material here.
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the absolute nuts and bolts of what they are calling a performance-based partnership infrastructure.
That's a mouthful, but it's important.
Yeah, it is. We aren't just going to look at, what this platform does. We're going to decode exactly how shifting from that fragile hope and pray model to a fully aligned, incentive-driven marketplace is engineered to completely dominate a space that has, quite frankly, actively resisted digitization.
And I think it's critical to frame this analysis correctly right from the start. We aren't just looking at a simple software update here.
Right.
And we certainly aren't looking at some new marketing gimmick.
No.
This is a real-time case study in how digital network effects systematically take over and standardize analog industries.
Yeah, which is just a fascinating psychological study to me.
It really is. So over the course of our discussion, we'll be breaking down marketplace dynamics, the structural difference between building business infrastructure versus just charging digital rent, and the exact mechanisms they use to align economic incentives so tightly that the whole ecosystem becomes self-sustaining.
So let's start right at the foundation of the problem, which is the death of the standalone brochure website.
Right.
The structural analysis in these documents is just blunt. They basically say a standalone outfitter website is a stagnant digital brochure.
Yeah, it's just sitting there.
Exactly. I mean, if you are an outfitter, you might have literally the most incredible hunting packages in the entire world, but your website doesn't generate its own daily global traffic.
No, of course not.
It doesn't convert well. It relies 100% on you, the business owner, to somehow drag people to the site. And if you've ever tried to run a local business or set up a portfolio online, you know this exact pain.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy. Having a standalone website right now is basically like building a luxury retail store in the middle of a desert, completely disconnected from any roads.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. You can have the best products on the shelves, but if you have to personally drag every single customer across the sand dunes yourself, you're going to starve.
Yeah. The desert analogy works perfectly because it highlights the complete absence of infrastructure. In economic terms, that standalone website completely lacks a network effect.
And remind everyone what that means mechanically.
Sure. So a network effect is just the mechanism where a product or service becomes inherently more valuable as more people use it.
Like a flywheel.
Exactly like a flywheel. More outfitters attract more hunters, and then more hunters attract more outfitters. Think about the mechanical difference here. When an outfitter builds their own isolated site, they start at absolute zero.
Right. Zero traffic.
Right. To get traffic, they have to pay for individual Google ads out of their own pocket or spend years trying to build domain authority through SEO, search engine optimization, just to get a tiny, tiny fraction of attention.
Which is exhausting.
It is. But HuntNetwork, by contrast, operates as a centralized discovery ecosystem. The data in our sources suggests this architecture drives upwards of 60,000 views a week.
Wait, 60,000?
Yeah, 60,000 weekly views. So when an outfitter plugs their business into a network effect platform, they aren't out there building a new road in the desert. They are basically opening a storefront inside the busiest digital mall in their industry. The foot traffic is already there. The hunters are already searching.
But, okay, let me push back on that a bit. 60,000 views of what, exactly? Because if I'm selling a highly specialized product, raw traffic numbers don't really impress me.
That's fair.
I mean, if 59,000 of those people are looking for something I don't even sell, that river of traffic is completely useless to me.
Yeah.
But the architecture nodes do make a huge point about the intelligence of that traffic.
Yes, they focus heavily on search intent.
Right.
And that is the crucial differentiator between, say, putting up a billboard and building a marketplace. If you are an outfitter, you absolutely do not want random traffic.
You want buyers.
Exactly. You want highly qualified, ready-to-buy traffic positioned right in front of you at the exact moment they are considering a purchase. Let's actually look at how their filtering algorithm operates mechanically.
Okay, we'll lay it out.
So if a hunter is online looking for a budget-friendly wild boar hunt in Eastern Europe, they shouldn't be forced to sift through luxury helicopter-assisted moose hunts in the Canadian Yukon, right?
Right. Completely different buyer.
Completely different. So the global hunting map and marketplace functionality use search intent filtering by location, species, budget, and the style of the hunt to segment the audience instantly. It acts as this really sophisticated matchmaking engine. It just eliminates all the noise.
Yeah, because a Texas gator hunter isn't competing with a South African Cape Buffalo outfitter.
Not at all.
The offerings are totally different, the price points are miles apart, and the clientele is just totally different.
Exactly. The platform mechanically prevents those two outfitters from cannibalizing each other's visibility. A first-time hunter's search query triggers an entirely different set of results than a seasoned trophy hunter who's searching for, like, premium verified outfitters.
Which a standalone brochure website just cannot do.
It simply cannot perform that kind of dynamic, real-time market segmentation. It just sits there hoping the right person typed the right URL into their browser.
Okay, so if we accept the premise that being isolated in that digital desert is essentially a death sentence, and that plugging into this network effect is non-negotiable for future survival, that brings us to the entry cost.
Right, the economics of getting in.
And I want to push back on this aggressively, because this is where the mechanics get highly debatable for me. If an outfitter wants to get out of the desert and onto this global map, the platform requires a $900 upfront cost.
Yes, the Outfitter Elite Special.
Right, the Outfitter Elite Special, which locks them in for 12 months. Now, the architecture nodes go out of their way to explicitly state this is not a listing fee.
They are very firm on that phrasing.
They are. But let's be real here. They are charging a business $900 upfront just to be visible on the platform.
So what does this actually mean? How is this fundamentally any different from just paying for a premium spot in the digital phone book?
It is the exact right question to ask. And answering it requires us to separate the concept of rent from the concept of capital expenditure or infrastructure.
Okay, I'm listening.
When you pay a listing fee to a directory, whether that's a digital phone book, a localized tourism board, or an old school magazine, you are paying rent.
You're just leasing space.
Right. You are leasing a static block of space. And crucially, the platform that takes your money does nothing else for you.
Right. If you get no leads, they don't care.
They don't care at all. They still collected their rent. But the architecture of HuntNetwork is meticulously structured to distance itself from that passive rent collection model. Okay, then break that down for me. Deconstruct the psychology here. If I am an outfitter handing over $900 and it's supposedly not rent for digital real estate, what exact mechanisms is that money funding?
It is positioned as a once-off capital investment into the outfitter's own 24/7 sales asset. That $900 pays for the heavy lifting of onboarding and digital integration.
For building the infrastructure.
Exactly. First, it covers custom SEO mapping.
Mhm.
And it's not just like typing an outfitter's name into a blank field. It involves back-end optimization targeting the specific species and specific countries that outfitter serves.
Making sure they actually index correctly on global search engines.
Right. Second, it funds the API integrations. For example, it connects a direct WhatsApp link to the profile.
Which is a huge mechanical shift.
It's massive. Instead of a lead filling out a web form that gets caught in a spam filter or just sits in an inbox for 3 days, the inquiry pings directly to the outfitter's phone in real time.
And it also covers the live Google Calendar synchronization, which I found totally fascinating in the notes.
Oh, that's a game changer.
Because if you've ever tried to book a highly specialized vacation online, maybe a niche ski trip or a deep-sea fishing charter, you know exactly the kind of friction we are talking about.
The endless back and forth.
Yes, you find a site, you send an email asking, hey, do you have dates in October? You wait 48 hours. They finally reply, no, how about November? You reply, well, what are the rates for November? It's just an agonizing back and forth.
And then that back and forth is what economists call buyer friction. And in high-ticket e-commerce, friction is the ultimate conversion killer.
If it's hard to buy, people won't buy.
Exactly. So the Google Calendar API acts like an air traffic control system for bookings. It completely replaces the outfitter's physical pen and paper reservation book.
Wow.
If a hunter looks at the profile, they see actual real-time open slots. If they claim a slot, it instantly syncs and disappears from the global map. Double booking becomes technically impossible, and the time to transaction drops from days down to minutes.
And that ties directly into the digital first impression concept they talk about. Yes, absolutely.
If you are a hunter and you're preparing to wire $20,000 to a foreign country for a safari, and the outfitter's website looks like it was coded in 1998.
With broken image links and an email that bounces.
Right. The perceived risk skyrockets. You just close the tab. So the infrastructure investment is essentially paying to construct a digital environment where the hunter feels entirely secure dropping that kind of money.
Precisely. The visual sliding galleries, the professional layout, the clear pricing structures, this is all infrastructure designed to manufacture trust. You aren't paying a fee just to exist on a list. You are funding the integration of a system engineered to turn a casual browser into a confirmed booking.
But see, here's where the strategy gets really brilliant to me. Building slick infrastructure is only half the battle. A beautiful high-tech store in a busy mall can still go completely bankrupt if the incentives are wrong.
And this is where the entire HuntNetwork model hinges. If they charge $900 up front to build the profile, they could easily just walk away and say, hey, good luck out there.
But they don't do that.
They don't. To actually prove to the outfitters that this infrastructure works, the marketplace has to align its own corporate survival with the individual outfitter's success.
The incentives have to match.
Right. And that cause and effect relationship is what drives the absolute core of this system, the performance-based partnership.
And this is the mechanism that transitions HuntNetwork from just being a software provider to being a true platform company. It is the implementation of the commission model.
Right. Let's unpack that. The blueprint details a sliding commission scale of roughly 10% to 18%. Lower-priced standard packages sit around that 10% mark.
And as the packages scale up.
Yeah, as they scale up into premium, luxury, or highly exclusive experiences with more variables, the commission scales up closer to 18%.
But wait, I have to stop here and look at this from the outfitter's perspective. Sure, play devil's advocate.
I've already paid $900 for the digital plumbing, right? Now, every time I actually make a sale, the platform is taking 10 to 18% off the top.
It can feel steep.
It sounds like double dipping.
Yeah.
This changes the entire relationship. If I'm an outfitter, why wouldn't I feel like I'm just being squeezed from both ends here?
It's a very natural reaction, but it misunderstands the economics of two-sided marketplaces. Let's look at the phrase they use in the documents to anchor this structure. We only grow when you grow.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, by taking a commission on the back end, rather than charging an endless, say, $500 a month subscription fee on the front end, HuntNetwork fundamentally alters its own risk profile.
Meaning they take on risk too.
Huge risk. If an outfitter pays that $900 onboarding fee, sits on the platform for a year, and gets 0 bookings, HuntNetwork makes zero commission.
They don't make another dime.
Right. They effectively lose money on the server space, the customer support, and the marketing overhead for that outfitter. Ah, okay. So the platform has to actually sweat for its money. If they don't deliver paying customers, they starve alongside the outfitter.
Exactly. This forces the platform to act as an aggressive, global marketing agency for the outfitter, and an agency that only gets paid on actual results.
So they have to hustle.
They do.
Yeah.
Consider what the platform has to do mechanically to generate that 10 to 18%. They have to continuously fund and optimize the global SEO.
Which isn't cheap.
Not at all. They have to purchase the retargeting ads that follow users around the internet. They have to design, write, and execute the email marketing blasts to their database of over 250,000 subscribers.
Wow, 250,000.
Yeah. And if you've ever tried to run a Facebook or Google ad campaign for a small business, you know you can easily burn thousands of dollars just testing audiences and get absolutely zero return.
Yeah, you're basically paying for the education of the algorithm out of your own pocket.
Precisely.
Hmm.
But under this performance-based model, the platform absorbs 100% of that advertising risk.
Oh, that's a huge shift.
The platform spends its own capital to acquire the customer. The outfitter only pays the 10 to 18% fee after a guaranteed revenue-generating booking is secured.
So it shifts the burden completely.
Yes. It shifts the burden of customer acquisition entirely off the shoulders of the outfitter, who, frankly, should be out in the field managing logistics anyway, and onto the platform, which is fundamentally built to capture traffic.
So it's the exact same mechanism used by giants like Booking.com or Airbnb or Uber.
Exactly the same model.
They don't charge the hotel or the driver a massive monthly fee just to be visible. They take a cut of the actual transaction because they're the ones who brought the customer to the door.
You nailed it. It creates true marketplace alignment.
Okay, so the incentives are perfectly aligned. The platform is desperate to sell out the outfitter's season to maximize their commission, and the outfitter gets a pipeline of ready-to-buy hunters without risking their own ad spend.
It's a win-win. But let's trace the actual dollar bills here. Let's look at the mechanics of the transaction itself. When a hunter is sitting on their couch in New York, looking at a highly targeted Cape Buffalo package in South Africa, and they finally click that book button, what happens to the money? Who holds it? Who transfers it? And who actually takes the risk?
Right, the transaction flow. It's engineered to establish immediate financial security for both parties. When the hunter initiates the booking, the platform's secure payment engine processes an upfront deposit.
Okay.
Depending on the package, this deposit is typically structured between 50% and 60% of the total hunt cost.
So the platform acts as the initial clearinghouse.
Yeah.
They take the hit of the credit card processing and the international currency conversion.
Correct. The platform absorbs that initial transactional friction. Once that 50 to 60% deposit is captured, the automated system triggers a split.
Okay, where does the money go?
HuntNetwork immediately retains its agreed-upon marketplace commission, that 10 to 18% we just discussed.
Right.
The vital next step is that the remaining balance of that deposit is instantly transferred via automated routing directly to the outfitter.
Wait, instantly?
Yeah.
So the outfitter isn't waiting until the end of the month, or worse, until the hunter actually arrives 6 months later to see any cash.
Exactly. Immediate liquidity is crucial for these operators. That transferred capital allows the outfitter to secure local permits, purchase supplies, reserve lodges, and generally just prepare for the hunt.
That makes total sense.
And it locks in the commitment from the hunter, significantly reducing the chance of a no-show while capitalizing the outfitter's preparation.
Okay, but this brings up a massive liability question for me.
I bet I know what it is.
We aren't talking about booking a sterile, predictable hotel room by the airport here. Hunting involves wild, unpredictable animals. It involves extreme weather, rugged terrain, and really complex international travel logistics.
It does.
So if HuntNetwork is processing the money, hosting the profile, and acting as the booking engine, aren't they legally and operationally on the hook? Like, what happens if a client flies halfway across the world, it rains for a week straight, the rivers flood, and they don't see a single animal?
Yeah.
Who is the hunter angry at?
It is the most critical legal distinction in the entire platform economy, and the operational architecture addresses it with absolute clarity.
How so?
The platform explicitly positions itself as the infrastructure layer. It is the discovery engine and the payment facilitator. It is emphatically not the operator of the hunt. The structural agreements clarify that the moment the transaction is confirmed and the deposit funds are routed to the outfitter, the platform's primary operational role concludes.
So they step out of the picture operationally.
Entirely. From that second forward, all physical logistics, safety protocols, liability waivers, weather contingencies, and actual service delivery fall 100% under the jurisdiction of the outfitter.
So HuntNetwork facilitates the digital handshake and the financial exchange, but the actual boots-on-the-ground reality remains the sole domain of the professional guide.
Correct. And this liability firewall is actually standard across all major global travel aggregators.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If you use a platform to book a flight to London and a snowstorm grounds the plane, you don't sue the booking platform, right?
Right, you deal directly with the airline.
Exactly. You deal with the airline's weather policy. HuntNetwork provides the marketplace connection and verifies the initial trust, but no ethical outfitter can guarantee outcomes in wild nature.
That's just the reality of hunting.
Exactly, and the platform's legal framework reflects that reality. The service delivery remains the core competency and the core liability of the business owner.
And since we're talking about trust and liability, I really wanted to dig deeper into the verified trust system they built into this infrastructure.
It's a huge component.
It is, because if I am handing over a 60% deposit on a $15,000 trip to someone I have literally never met, on a continent I have never been to, my hesitation level is going to be through the roof.
And in e-commerce, hesitation is the enemy of the transaction. If there is even a shadow of a doubt about legitimacy, the conversion fails.
But look at how they engineered the system to kill that hesitation. It's not just like a review out of 5 stars.
No, it goes way deeper.
It's the verified badge, ensuring the business actually exists and has the required operational permits. It's the YouTube video integrations that are natively embedded in the profile.
Those videos are so important.
They really are. You aren't just reading text. You are watching a high-definition video of the lodge, the terrain, and the guide talking directly to the camera. It builds this instant parasocial authority.
It humanizes the transaction.
Totally. And then you combine that with the live API calendar we talked about earlier. It removes every single barrier between the impulse to hunt and the confirmed booking.
It is a mechanism designed for reciprocal protection. The verified trust system protects the hunter from digital scams by thoroughly vetting the outfitters before they are even allowed on the platform.
Right.
And conversely, that strict 50 to 60% deposit structure protects the outfitter from digital window shoppers and time wasters. Both sides of the transaction are insulated from their respective risks.
It just seems like a meticulously balanced ecosystem. But when you dig into the timeline of the rollout in these documents, there is a glaring anomaly.
Yes, the early days.
Yeah. If this 10 to 18% commission structure is the absolute lifeblood of the platform, like the revenue engine that funds the SEO, the API maintenance, and the global marketing, why is there a mention of a zero commission model?
It's a fascinating detail.
The documentation explicitly notes that the first 10 outfitters integrated into the platform paid absolutely zero commission. If commissions are the whole point of the business model, why give the primary revenue stream away for free? Did someone make like a catastrophic pricing error on day one and just have to honor it?
It wasn't an error at all. It was a highly calculated structural mechanism designed to solve the most difficult hurdle in platform economics, the cold start problem.
Okay, let's break down the cold start problem because it's fascinating.
Yeah. The documentation clarifies that this was not a mistake, it wasn't a temporary promotion, and it wasn't a model that would ever be available to the general public. It was engineered specifically as the founding outfitter advantage.
Right. And for those who don't know, if you launch a new marketplace, let's say a new app for buying and selling vintage guitars, you have this classic chicken and egg scenario.
Exactly.
Buyers won't download the app because there are no guitars for sale. But sellers won't list their guitars because there are no buyers on the app. It's just a dead zone.
A completely dead zone. A network effect platform basically has zero value on day one. To kickstart the flywheel, you have to aggressively subsidize one side of the market.
You have to force it to spin.
Right. In this case, HuntNetwork needed premium verifiable inventory, meaning the outfitters on the platform, before they had realistically turn on that 60,000 visitor river of traffic.
That makes sense.
So by offering a permanent scarcity-driven reward like zero commission to the first 10 adopters, the platform wasn't just being generous. They were buying the foundational inventory required to make the platform viable in the first place.
This is classic FOMO.
Yeah.
I mean, they rewarded speed and belief. Those first 10 operators looked at an empty platform, believed the infrastructure pitch, and took a risk.
And it paid off for them?
Massively. In exchange, they secured a permanent financial advantage over every single competitor who comes after them.
And consider the psychological mechanism at play here for outfitter number 11 or outfitter number 100. When they see that the first wave of adopters locked in a permanent zero commission advantage, the reality of the market shift becomes undeniable. It triggers immediate urgency.
Because they missed out on the ground floor.
Exactly. They realize the digital migration is happening with or without them, and the longer they wait, the further behind they fall.
So it forces the next wave of outfitters to integrate immediately, accepting the standard 10 to 18% commission as the new unavoidable industry norm.
It proves mathematically that the market disproportionately rewards those who position themselves ahead of the curve, rather than those who just wait for the industry to change around them.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. If the platform successfully overcomes this cold start problem, locks in the early adopters, establishes the 10 to 18% commission standard, and gets that river of hunters searching daily, what is the end game?
The grand vision.
Right. Where does an infrastructure company go once the flywheel is spinning at maximum speed?
Well, the end game, according to the billion-dollar industry domination outlines we have here, is absolute structural ownership of the infrastructure layer.
That sounds intense.
It is. The goal isn't just to build a popular website that outfitters use occasionally. The goal is to become the underlying digital operating system for the entire global industry.
There is a specific distinction in the text that hits this point perfectly. It says, this is not a profile. It's a position.
And that semantic difference is everything in platform economics.
Really? How so?
Well, a profile is just a static page with a business name and a logo. A position is your strategic placement within a global dynamic economy. Historically, massive industries are ultimately won by whoever owns the mechanisms of discovery, trust, search, and transactions.
The bottlenecks, basically.
Exactly. If a single platform controls how a hunter searches for a trip, how they verify the safety of the operator, and how the international funds are transferred, that platform effectively controls the ecosystem.
And the architecture goes far beyond just sitting on the internet waiting for Google searches. It actually bleeds back into the physical world. Let's look at the discovery to arrival funnel they outlined.
This part is brilliant.
It really is. They are integrating lead capture directly into those old school physical expos we talked about at the very beginning. Walk me through the mechanics of this. An outfitter is standing at a trade show in Dallas. A hunter walks up. Instead of handing them a paper flyer that will probably end up in the trash, the outfitter holds up a QR code. The hunter scans it. What actually happens on the back end in that millisecond?
So the moment that QR code is scanned, the physical interaction is digitized and automated. The hunter's smartphone immediately opens the outfitter's optimized HuntNetwork profile.
Okay.
The platform's lead capture API then prompts the hunter for their email or WhatsApp number in exchange for, say, a digital brochure or a pricing discount.
So they capture the contact info immediately.
Right. Once that data is captured, the platform's automated architecture takes over. The hunter's information is logged into a CRM, a customer relationship management system.
Without the outfitter typing anything.
Zero manual entry. And then an automated drip campaign triggers. 3 days later, that hunter receives an email showing a high-definition video of the lodge. A week later, they receive an alert that there are only 2 slots left for the October season.
So the outfitter is actively remarketing to that hunter, building desire and urgency without lifting a single finger.
Not at all.
They are still standing at the booth shaking hands with the next person, while the platform's infrastructure is literally hunting down the previous lead.
Precisely. By providing these specific high-leverage digital tools, the WhatsApp bots, the automated follow-ups, the live package generators, HuntNetwork stops competing in the hunting industry alongside magazines and expos.
It ascends above them.
It simply becomes the digital foundation for the industry. It standardizes how a business operates. And when a digital platform successfully standardizes a fragmented analog industry, it makes itself economically indispensable.
It really forces you to accept the final harsh reality presented in this strategic shift. The outfitters who win and absolutely dominate this multi-billion-dollar space over the next decade, they won't necessarily be the ones with the most luxurious lodges.
No, probably not.
They won't be the most skilled trackers. They won't even be the best hunters. The winners will simply be the operators who are visible, trusted, and mathematically the easiest to book.
Ease of transaction wins every time.
Right. If hunters are searching right now with their credit cards out, ready to drop deposits, the only question that matters is, will the infrastructure lead them to you or to your competitor who adapted faster?
It is a stark Darwinian reality of digital business. Digital infrastructure does not care about a business owner's legacy, their analog reputation, or how many hands they've shaken over 20 years.
Pretty ruthless.
It is. It only calculates discoverability and conversion rate. The transition from a fragmented analog network to a unified, performance-based digital marketplace is not a possibility. It is an inevitability.
It's already happening.
Exactly. The only remaining variable is which businesses adapt their infrastructure fast enough to ride the wave, and which ones are left completely stranded in the desert with their invisible brochure websites.
So let's pull all of these mechanical threads together as we wrap up. We have just mapped the blueprint for a massive structural industry transformation.
A total paradigm shift.
We started in a highly fragmented analog world of physical expos and isolated, stagnant websites relying on manual hope and pray lead generation.
Right.
We examine how a $900 upfront capital investment shifts the business away from paying passive digital rent and instead funds the integration of custom SEO, live API calendar syncing, and direct communication infrastructure.
Which builds that crucial digital first impression.
Exactly. Then we decoded the absolute necessity of the 10 to 18% performance-based partnership that we only grow when you grow. Mechanism that forces the platform to absorb the financial risk of global marketing and customer acquisition.
The alignment of incentives.
We broke down the mechanics of trust, detailing how immediate 50 to 60% deposit splits create financial liquidity for operators, while strict liability firewalls protect the platform.
Setting clear operational boundaries.
And we analyzed the cold start problem and how the founding outfitter advantage uses zero-commission structures to kickstart the network effect and generate that FOMO. Ultimately, we are looking at a masterclass in how a centralized architecture scales up to become the indispensable operating system for a complex global market.
It's a textbook execution of platform dynamics.
It really is. But I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to explore on your own. We spent this entire deep dive analyzing the business mechanics, the automated funnels, and the digital dominance of the infrastructure layer.
The nuts and bolts.
Right. But if a platform like HuntNetwork successfully standardizes how global hunting is discovered, verified, and booked, creating total digital transparency, instant side-by-side comparisons, and permanent review-driven accountability,
Yeah.
how will that digital infrastructure fundamentally change the actual on-the-ground reality of the hunting experiences themselves over the next decade?
That's a great question.
When there is technically nowhere left to hide a bad review, and digital transparency is the only currency that generates bookings. Does the creation of this digital X-ray machine finally force the analog world to be better? Something to think about.